Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Trackman44 here. Hey, you know what? It's that time of year again when I got to move all the stuff I'm working on inside the shop out, and then move all the butchering equipment and everything in, because we're getting ready to do a beef. Now, I've still got things just kind of in a bit of a disarray, but here I'll just give you a look around, for some of the new viewers, and maybe refresh the memory on some of the older guys that's been around, before for a couple of our butchering episodes. Now, what we'll do, we'll be coming through that door, that 10-foot overhead door with the pig poker and a quarter of a beef on it. We'll settle on the main butchering table here. Of course, my nephew primarily is the number one guy that does the cutting. He'll be on that left front corner right by that biro bandsaw so that he can go ahead and shift right to the bandsaw. Between him and my son-in-law, Mike, they do a lot of the work. And then my daughters kind of move around the table a little bit. My son sits over here on the end. I got nieces and everything, and granddaughters that shift around and help us do whatever we need to do. Now, my nephew likes to keep his knives pretty close to him, so right behind him on that little white table is going to be his little knife table. He'll keep his rag on there, whetstone and stuff like that, and then his normal knives, and also the meat saw, because every now and then you have to make a hand cut on a couple of them. On that far table over by that other door is the meat tenderizer. It doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's needed whenever it is required. And then a new addition right here. Check out this stainless steel table. I'll talk about that for just a minute. My son-in-law's an electrician, and he works obviously with electricians. And he's got a co-worker. Her name's Lydia, and her boyfriend or significant other's name is Chase. And they were moving to a different location, and they had this real nice stainless steel butchering table that they just couldn't use, at their new location. So they give it to my son-in-law Mike. But at any rate, we really appreciate this. This is an 8-foot, a full 96-inch table. It's got a shelf down here. You can see we got our butchering boxes down here underneath the shelf already, and some clean buckets. And we got our stools and stuff underneath there, because this is where the granddaughters and nieces and myself will be around this table primarily, getting ready, trimming all the other stuff, for packaging. If you notice, I've only got a couple of cutting boards right here. And if you take a look back here, there's a lip on the back of this. That's a full 1 1/2 inch lip. And I'm afraid, without some thicker cutting boards, we're going to be kind of nicking the knives and stuff on there, whoever happens to be on the back side of the table. And so what I'm in the process of doing is making a couple of boards that are nice and thick for back there, so they don't have to be that concerned about hitting their knives on the stainless steel table and dulling them. As the hamburger meat and everything is trimmed and everything over here, and then cut into smaller chunks, on this end of the table, you can see there's the Hobart meat grinder. And of course, we use a variety of either buckets or pans or whatever to catch the meat right in the output of the grinder. So that's how that works right there, and it's right next to the stove or the furnace. That way, my granddaughters will stay warm over on this side, and my nieces will stay warm over on this side of the shed. This table here with the plexiglass on top and that little platform, that's going to be the wrapping table. The CG15, I believe, from Cabela's, or Weston, I think it is going to sit right at that end of the table, plug right into where the radial arm saw is, and they'll go ahead and package the meat right here on this table. And this here is going to hold the stuff that's in preparation for being packaged. And obviously, you can see right here, I got some of my old butcher knives, homemade butcher knives that the old man had made and everything, skinning knives as well as meat cutting knives, ready to go. I might have to pull them out and touch some of them up, But coming back to the table up here, you can see closer the thick lip back there, or the tall lip. That's what we're in the process of doing. I'm making a few cutting boards that whoever's on the back side will be able to use. Now, I was telling the missus about this lip on here because she's not been down to the shed and actually seen the table assembled and in position. But I told her about that, and that I was going to be making some thicker cutting boards, and for the reason why. And she said, well, you need to make a video on that, because people don't realize how really easy it is to make these boards. Now, these are not what they call charcuterie boards. I can't even pronounce the word. Those are the fancy ones, with the live edge and all that stuff, all the fancy designs. These are just basically butcher cutting boards. These are things you just throw on a table and just beat the heck out of, I'm making them thick enough where if you have to use a cleaver, with some smaller bones and stuff, or maybe trim something off, tip of a bone with a cleaver, you can go ahead and do that. But mainly, it's simply because I want it high enough to where whoever's back here will have a tendency to not hit their knives onto this sharp edge or onto the edge of the metal and dull the knives. So what we're going to do in a few minutes, we're going to walk over and take a look at what I've got in the process of going on, but we'll go back around the wood pile and take a look at what we're going to be using. Now, you know, I tell you all the time, you can't ever tell what you're going to get out of a log. Sometimes you get some stuff that's not real good, but there's always good parts in them. So I'm going to go ahead and take one of the better boards here that's got at least 18 or 20 inches of good material, and I'm going to go ahead and make one of those. Well, I didn't mean for that to happen, but I'm going to make one of those cutting boards out of one of these pieces of oak. More than likely, if I remember right, it's going to be this guy right here. Okay, there's the remnants of the donor piece of oak. I got a pretty nice couple of pieces out of it. May as well take a quick look in the cooler. There's the two hind quarters, and there's the two front quarters on the left-hand side. I grabbed a 10-foot length of maple off of the maple pile, and went ahead and got these guys cut down and glued together. So there's going to be 4 of them there. I think those are going to end up about 12 and a half, 13 by 16. And then here's the remnants of that oak that I told you I pulled out. So those are trimmed up. Those are ready to glue. They're not glued down yet. So I'm getting ready to do that. And of course we have to finish sanding them. I just hit the top of it on one of the belt sanders just for the heck of it. These guys here are ready to start working on it. What we're going to be doing essentially is going ahead and using this belt sander. We got to get one side perfectly, well, really close to perfect. It's not like we're finishing a real nice woodworking project. We just got to get her pretty smooth and everything. So that's actually going to be good enough. We'll round all the corners and edges. One will always be a dedicated bottom, and one will always be a dedicated top. And that's what we're going to do here on all 5 of them. Normally on a woodworking project, you wouldn't use a belt sander like this cross grain, but on these maple meat cutting boards, it doesn't matter one bit. So yeah, some of these are going to take a little bit of sanding, there's no doubt about it, and that's a little bit too big to get onto the 6x48 belt sander. You know, it's a pedestal belt sander. We could have done these individual, but I want to do them as an assembly so I can take everything down reasonably even. Now, when it comes down to rounding the edges on these guys here, we move over to a different belt sander. This is a Grizzly. This is actually a pretty nice belt sander, but it does a really good job on things like this. And see how quick and easily you can go ahead and change these from square, sharp corners to nice rounded edges. And yes, though I do not like wearing a mask, I don't like coughing and having my chest all congested at night, and actually getting headaches and stuff from some of the dust. So I wear a very good mask anytime I'm creating dust. Then when it comes down time to soften the edges so they're not crisp this way here, we come over to the old belt sander that sits out in the middle of the floor. We want to soften those edges just a little bit, and just that little bit takes that crispness off of those edges. And again, like I've said several times during the course of the video, these are not charcuterie boards or anything like that. These are functional meat cutting boards, you know, just for butchering, you know, beef and pork. But at any rate, that's about all there are to these guys here, and we'll take a look at them whenever we get done with all of them. So guys, there we went ahead and quickly knocked out 4 maple and one oak cutting board to compensate for this high back here on the back side of this stainless steel table. Like I said, they're nothing fancy, but they are definitely going to help us out somewhat. And so, you know what? That's just about all there is to this one here. And I want to give a hearty thank you once again to Lydia and Chase, friends of my son-in-law's, for the fantastic gift of this stainless steel table. It's going to really do us well, especially when we move into our new butcher shop eventually. So hey, you know what? That's all there is to this one here, and this Tractor Man 44, and I'm out of here, guys.